folks. Phil Davis, Ancestry Lands, ancestrylands.com. We just finished up the Thanksgiving holiday, and I'm just finished getting over being sick for the last 4 or 5 days. Um, I wanted to bring open this conversation right now as we all sat around with families in the holidays. We see on the news the information about us going into a recession, I guess, is confirmed now. The months it's taken to kind of get to this point for the world to acknowledge that we're heading towards a recession. The increased cost of, goods. My wife and I, we constantly have discussions about, why our bills are going up every single month, why we're paying more for things like food. And we can see where it's eating away at the things that we've done to prepare and get ahead in life, to give us the access to be able to afford the luxuries that we have tasted that now have become necessities. And keep in mind what I just said, luxuries that we have tasted that now have become necessities. So when I say that, what do I mean? I mean simply is that when you elevate yourself up in life, when you start off, getting that college degree, and this is definitely going to be a little bit of message to the younger people, and it applies to anyone else who's in a growth process. In my business, I've been in a growth process, but on a different level. But when you're getting out of, a low or minimum wage job and you first start off into your career, or you're transitioning to a higher level of pay via promotion, um, anything else, or a new position where because you've learned a new skill, you've added on a new talent, something that is going to give you a boost in pay, you're going to get an increase in income. The increase in income often leads to an increase in lifestyle. Your attainment of certain things, products like cars, are going to be in a higher range. Loans that you would apply for through good credit, or the ability to pay for things like watches or anything else that you might find yourself, whatever, you know, floats your fancy, as they normally say. Those things are going to be within your reach now. And now that your lifestyle starts to elevate, you become accustomed to the new level at which you're spending now. So I'll say it. It's one point when I remember, when I made $1,000 in the summertime being a waiter in Staten Island, New York. I thought it was the most amazing thing when I was like 20. And that was over like a 2.5 month period, making $1,000. And I'm talking about waiting tables in a catering facility where you cater meals to, people, wedding parties, things like that. And I thought that was the most, like, I made it. I thought I made a lot of money at that time when I saw $1,000 I saved in my savings bank. And once I became a nurse, $1,000 was like a third of what I got paid in a paycheck, like bring home. And it became, now that I'm up to this, triple paycheck lifestyle, you start to become accustomed to, oh, I've got more money to spend. So this thing that I couldn't get before, this Xbox or this car, maybe I had to buy a lower grade car now because of my income at the time, but now I have this increase in income. Now I can afford something else. I can afford a fancier clothes. I could afford, this nice scarf, or I can buy this girl there. I can go on vacations. I can do a myriad of things that now are within your reach. And to each his own where that level lies, but the same principle applies. You now start to live at that level. It's like if you transition from high school to college, by your second year of college, playing in sports or living in a college, you start to become used to that being your current lifestyle. You become accustomed. Much in the same way, you move out of your parents' house, you get your own apartment. The novelty of that, I have my own apartment, it's my own place, it wears off after a year or so. You become accustomed to coming home. This is your home now where you live at. So you start to grow into having your own place. All these things being said, your lifestyle starts to become accustomed to that level. Okay. So when you become accustomed to that level, they become now necessities where they were once luxuries, hence the term luxuries once tasted now become necessities. And I'm going to circle it back to when you're making these transitions in life and you're elevating yourself into these new, these new levels that you're getting into, whether you're retiring and you're going into a different phase of your life. Like my parents are, they're retired now, they're working, they have a different capacity. You're going to start seeing the effects of the things that are going on in the world. Us going into a recession, rising interest rates, how that affects your food costs. When you look on the news and you're looking for sources of information that give you some truth, you don't see it. And we're going to bring this to a little bit more is, if you can't find it as an adult, what are they teaching with our children then? What information are the people who are responsible for educating our children giving them that is relevant to the things they need in life? My mother and I were having a conversation the other day, and I was explaining to her is that a lot of things like interest rates, understanding how to invest in your 401k, there are no classes on that. There's no show you how to manage. And I'm not talking about going and taking a college elective course. I'm talking about the same way you know how to count or they do your ABCs. Banking is not, and I'm talking about things that we actually use in life, not something that's more specialized, such as you're going to go get a degree in a certain field, which is now a limited amount of people going to into that field of study or even that profession. Nursing, even though there are a lot of nurses, but there are more patients than there are nurses. So even being a nurse is still specialized. That's not a majority, but everyone needs to understand banking. Everyone is part of this monetary system, and the stewards of the powers that be, the people who are in control of this. Why? And I'm asking the question why, and leave a comment below to share your thoughts on why this isn't taught. Again, parents, we send our children off to school. My kids get on the bus around 9 o'clock. They come back at about 4:15. So that's nearly 8 hours they're gone. In their day of learning, the things that are critical to their learning when they get to adulthood, what are the things that are taught in conjunction with what you need in life? We're told as parents, we're told as the students that we need to know these things. We need to take a test on this, take a test on that, pass the SATs. But the test that we need to pass, which is life, okay, what preparation do we have for that? Now, you would say the responsibility relies on the parents, and again, yes, it does. But my kids are gone Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. and it doesn't count the time I have to get them up and get ready from school till about 4, and then they got to come home and then they have work to do from that school day. So where is this being taught? Where is the education on understanding your mortgage, understanding economics, understanding stock investing? Why is the information in corners or in pockets of society where it's pretty much kept hidden, or you have to go in searching for this, but yet education is supposed to be something that's paramount? Now, this is no shot at the educators themselves. I have many teachers in my own family, my brother being one of them, but again, he's not in control of the curriculum. So what I'm trying to do is pose the question of opening our minds to the fact of we're not being led in the right way. When I say that, I also mean that our relationships, okay, our interactions with the people around us, our family, our friends, if we're not being taught the basics of an education. And I think my cousin Wendell and I had a conversation about that the other night, and I was telling about how environment and education play a big role into how successful you are. So when your education is not geared at being a student and the education that you need in life, then when you get out of school, how prepared are you for dealing with life? And I would pose to ask that question because we enter relationships, we get into financial in I don't want to say but financial engagements or entanglements with prospective partners. We have boyfriends and girlfriends. Just walk with me here, okay? Because I think we're really getting somewhere. Is that we get out of high school, our parents send us off to college. We saying that's a higher level education, okay? Our parents are proud of us to come home with a degree. We got the cap, we turn the tassel over to the other side. We're graduated. All the people go out there, and every person walking us down that aisle, every person clapping, has been through the same lack of preparation towards life. Some people have become successful because they've been able to figure out or stumble along the way, school of hard knocks, get it out of the mud, how to figure out how to become successful in life. But again, for the majority, the 95%, we're stuck left with the bag in our hands, holding the bag. Okay. And we go through life with this lack of education in our relationships and our perceptions of the world, and our lack of understanding on why we're not succeeding in life. And that's due to the fact that we're not taught the things that we need to know and how to be an A student in finances, money management, just to name a few. I mean, just understanding a contract, liability, the things that we interact with in life, buying a car. These are courses that you have to take to pay for. But again, the concept is not taught at the basic elementary and or the primary and secondary school level. You got to wait till you get to college to do this. When you get to high school, you're not taught how to manage your debt, how to understand what debt really means, how to understand how to build good credit. My father tried to teach me a long time ago about building credit, and he did it to the best of his knowledge. But again, was his understanding of credit at the same level of, I don't know, a major banker who understands large level of credit? When we walk in to get loans into banks for anything, for a car loan, you're 22 years old, you're walking in to get a car loan, you got great credit, you have no understanding of the transaction that's going on. Heck, I'm 41 years old. I didn't understand amortization schedules. Look that up. I did a video on that about educate yourself, understanding interest and why we don't charge it. I didn't understand that until I got to doing land. And my father, he's owned and sold more homes and had them built from the ground up, new construction. He taught me amortization schedule. I never really understood what it was. And even then, my father never, and this is not a shot to my father, but we didn't really sit down and go through that penciling education. Now, he taught me how to change a tire, but even still then, I didn't understand that when you're paying a mortgage that 15 years into it, you only paid interest. This is not something that's taught regularly. Your average 15-year-old does not know this information. Why? And we as parents, we're trying our best to, and that's the thing what my parents did. My father was dedicated me going to college. He was dedicated me getting a good education. My mother was too, and making sure that we had as much knowledge as we could, but they had to learn it too as well. And they probably had understanding like my dad. Now we have this conversation and it's a more fluid conversation about amortization schedules. But when 20 years ago, when I was 20, maybe there were gaps in his knowledge that he couldn't explain it the way he could at now 60, where he understands it after selling home after home after home, looking at how to pay off a mortgage quicker. When I was in college, he was finally on to doing something different than just I'm paying a mortgage every month and then I'm going to pay it off in 30 years. He started learning some of the game. But again, this is the same way as that we're kind of like, we have to, our education about life is kind of the same equivalent to learning like how to live in the streets. It's not, we're given this formal education, and it's formal for what? That's what I'm asking. And when I'm saying this is to kind of raise awareness to, when I talk about land and land ownership, it is the same concept of trying to talk about amortization schedules with my regular audience. And I say that not to say that you all don't understand that. It's to say that you're not even taught the value of why land is so important. I mean, you're hearing it from me, but it's not something we're raised up to understand, that land is important. Now, we sure can see homes or shopping malls built up. We understand that wealthy people own real estate, but we're not able to make the connection that we should own real estate to land in the same capacity. We're we're interested. And I'm gonna bring it together in a way to get you to understand even more, because think about how this affects your relationship when you're dating, when you're going out into the world and you're financially dating someone that may be higher or lower than you are. Everybody's looking for a high value man or a woman with this, a business. But even starting a business, why is a business? We're in a capitalistic society. Think about this. Why are we not taught business? Why are you not taught that basic stuff when you're in middle school on up to high school? Why do you have to go to college to get a degree in business? And here's a part that I love is that you go to college and get a degree in business, and then you go work in someone else's business, and you don't end up owning your own business. You become a higher paid level to run and operate someone else's business structure, but you're not really taught the whole business. You actually have a degree for a job that gets a specific function within a business. So what the heck are they teaching you? What are you getting a degree in? Now, am I saying that you should not go forward? If I'm not saying the degrees are not useless, but no, what I'm saying is that I'm trying to get people to open up and understand that there is a big gap in every person, my preparation, my parents' preparation, and getting prepared for what you need to understand in life. I ask many people, like, hey, do you even understand your 401k? Do you even know if you're, invested in stocks, bonds, mutual funds? So, what are you invested in? These are things we just give our money away to. We give our money to our company. They're going to match 401k, and we just go through and we got a 401k. I have a 401k. I have a 401k. I have match. They match at 100%, and these are just selling points. We're actually selling what we were sold on. And I ask people, and you break it down. And I'm not saying that, but what you got to do now is think about this. You get out, you get into a job, you get a family, you have more responsibilities than ever. Now you got to go back and you got to go back and start learning something as an adult that you walk in the door and it's an option for you to be invested in. And 401ks are as common as McDonald's being on the corners in most companies, and yet there's no education on it. What they do is they send you information while you're working, and your emails come and talk to us about this. There's no now. Me as a nurse, I go in a hospital and work. I got to take a class on CPR, ALS, all of it. There is no mandatory 401k learning. There's no mandatory on that. That's just optional. We talk about that, but we don't even know how to plan for retirement. Think about this. So then you look at Medicare and Medicaid, right? Then they're talking about them being insolvent. Where was the preparation a long time ago for that? Do our leaders even know? Are we letting other people with gaps in their education run us as a country, as people that are deciding on why something's insolvent? We have trillions and trillions of dollars worth of debt. And who's doing the math and learning how to cut costs and cut savings? All I see is spend, 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 spend. And it's no wonder that if our leaders are doing it, then most people in their households are doing it. Blind leading the blind. So I'm going to bring it back again. When I'm talking about land ownership, the power and value of land, if you look at the history of land ownership, Roman times, land, a man had land. Now everybody looks at land, it's like, everyone's so fixated on having a house on a land. That's an eventual part. But someone owned the land before anything was put on it, and it still had value. And most people don't understand that, because again, we're in the consumer mindset, because we need to have a product up there in order to create a value on it. We don't see land as a value because it's intrinsic, meaning that it has a value just on its own that's actually worth more before you put a building on it. You know why? Because you can put building on building and building and building and building and keep putting that through generation after generation after generation. Heck, the land itself will still have a value as time moves on if nothing happens with the land itself. You saw my video with Lavelle where we did on the setback video, and he talked about they'll build on a mountain. So even a mountain has a value. Can you believe that someone owns a part of a mountain where they build homes on, right? And we look at it as so foreign out because, again, are we being taught to think small, to think as a consumer, to think like cattle, to only consume and never look where we're going and headed as we walk through the line, head to the butt of the next cow that heads to the slaughter. Think about this. I mean, this is something that when I look at it and I'm looking at my children and I'm saying, wow, there is so much that I have to teach them that I don't know if I have enough time in my life to get them up to understanding what I only know now at 41. What am I missing that's there? And again, you look at, we spend so much time in school, and our education is to what? I mean, there's so many things we don't use in school that we're not using now, but our school and our educational system is not geared towards us understanding the education that we need in life that we go off to as a majority. I mean, 18 years, 22 years old when you get out and go to school, you if you live to be 60, you have lived twice as long out of school as you have being in school. And I'm just going to go 0 to 22. You live twice as long out of not being a student as you have. So that means you will be a student in life far longer than you are a student at school. Where's the prep for that? Where's the what education is provided for that? And the majority of our time, Monday through Friday, we send our kids to school. We all have been students. If you're in school, you should think about this. Again, debit cards for kids. Now, peep this game, right? So I've learned that one thing about credit, that a lot of people, is good to have good credit, right? But there's another thing to have a larger credit limit that you have. Someone who has, my wife and I, we've been talking about this, is that we have very good credit scores, but we have very low credit limits because we don't use credit cards. We typically pay in cash for things. We tend not to overspend, and that's great. But when you're going to apply for a loan, which is something I did not know at the time, because I'm from the older school where you just needed a good credit score. You don't want to have a whole lot of debt. That's what I was told, raised on. You don't be having 4, 5, 6, 9 credit cards, because why? People tend to overspend on them. But that was what I was taught. You don't want 9, 10, 12 credit cards, because guess what? You're going to overspend. You're going to go into credit card debt. Yeah, you are, if you use them and don't manage your credit well. But if you have 12 credit cards and you have $1 million credit limit, well, your loan value, if you need you need that money, your lending capabilities are much greater than you are if you have a $10,000 credit limit and you're using $2,000 of active credit every month. I mean, this is probably something that you'll never learn this in school. So I've told my wife, it's like, hey, we're building our credit up. You get a credit card, you spend very modestly, you track your spending. Now, again, this is not something that is going to be for the impulsive buyer. I couldn't do this when I was in my 20s. I didn't have the emotional foundation to be able to understand that. I mean, I was in college, good looking guy. I hope I still am good looking. Leave a thumbs up if you think I'm still good looking here. But I was more into I wanted a nice car. I wanted to get out with girls. I wanted to have nice clothes. It was all the things that didn't mean anything. So I think this is probably going to be geared towards the people who actually have the capacity to understand what I'm trying to teach here. It's not just for somebody who could say, oh, I can go ahead and go build up to get $100,000 worth of credit. I wouldn't even, you as a parent, if you are doing this with a teenage child that's 20 or in their early 20s, you need to have full control over this. If you are good with money too, as well. If you're bad with money, then please listen. But at the same time, if you are building up cards with $50,000 limits, you have 10 cards that have $50,000 limits, and you have carrying no balances or low balances, you pay your credit cards off every month, and you are able to increase your credit limit worthiness, and then you're using $1,000 when you're only using a fraction of your credit. But then again, when you go to get larger loans in life, as you go older, I have 3 kids now, we need a 4-bedroom house, and you look at the credit that you have, your credit usage, your debt to income ratio, your credit worthiness, how much of a credit limit. These are the things that affect you when you need a loan in life, when you need car loans and anything else. Like, they're going to affect your rate too as well. It's all connected, but it's never taught. You either have to have a parent that teaches you this because they know well and they're successful, but generally There's nowhere that you're going to get this lesson that you need to learn, but you'll get a credit card offer at 18, and no one's teaching this. It doesn't matter where you are. Your kids will get a credit card offer in the mail as soon as they turn 18. They'll just come in the mail all the time. And if no one is teaching your children, so hold on, let me ask this question. How is it that credit card companies can send your kids offers as soon as they turn 18, but there is no requirement for education on how to operate a credit card to show that they're proficient as credit card users before they get a credit card? Think about that. They don't understand APR. They don't understand what good interest rate is on a credit card. Come on now. Then the next step is what? A car loan. Then it's apartment. Then you got to get a credit check for it. Again, none of this building. Again, it's like land. When you start at the foundation, I'm always a land. Why connect everything to land? Because you know why? When you look at these mountains here, land is a foundation. It all starts with land. So when I'm talking right now, I'm talking about understanding the foundation in which we all start and live from. Our kids, when we're teaching them about credit, we're starting at the foundation. I keep talking about that 18-year-old. And again, at the foundation of their beginning in life, at your foundation at the beginning of life, where is that? You now can technically go out into the world. They're 18 years to go out and start making their decisions in life. They enter a relationship. Our daughters, our sons, we have been in relationship with people. And I would dare say is some of the reason why our relationships are so horrible due to the fact that we have a lack of education when it comes to being proficient or good students in life. I mean, just think about it. It's mind-blowing to think about that and make some connections. Think about your relationships and the problems that you have in your relationships. Are some of the problems directly or correlating to a lack of education when it comes to things that you need to understand about life? When you're meeting someone and you decide that you like each other and you love each other and you're attracted to each other and you move together, what commonalities about life move you forward as opposed to it's the physical, this, and that, right? And then it becomes a money issue. Then you have a child, but it's still two people who are smart enough to understand life can move in a way that make good decisions while having a family, even if their relationship is not compatible. I mean, people do this in companies all the time. Yeah, people that you don't like that you work with, but you still work with them. You still go to work every day. You still manage to put those things aside with a perfect stranger, but our relationships are falling apart. And this may be due to the fact of our education in life. We don't start learning until we start failing. Honestly, I think that might be the title of this show right now. We don't start learning how to be educated in life until we start failing at life. And then we look to the people who have guided us up to this point, and we're now expected to just be A students in life. And we've just started kindergarten at this point in life. We've just started. So forgive me if my voice is still a little hoarse. I'm still getting past this, the tail end of my sickness. But again, I really hope that people who are listening to this and gotten this far, I've really hit a light bulb here. So you would ask me, okay, well, Phil, you've identified the problem. You talked about some things. What are your solutions? Well, one I did give right now is that, you got to really understand credit. And the reason why I say understanding credit is not just understanding credit from the sense that you could apply and get a credit card. You need to understand credit in the way that the wealthy people do. They utilize credit. And I'm not saying they're bad. There's nothing about bad. Wealthy to people to me is people who either have, they've been having generational knowledge. They've been given generational opportunities. They also are people who took advantage of things that are generational, some setbacks, generational advances. And some people have just got dumb luck. They just have managed to become successful because they are just unique in themselves. But again, those are the small percentages. But for a lot of people, if you look, the power of people today, they're related to people that we know about in history, that we study about in books, that we're tearing down statues over, saying, this, and this, but we're voting in office. People who are in the history books or can be Googled and are known names throughout history. Not just the most popular ones, but the ones that you can find out. I mean, until the modern age, now a lot of names probably wouldn't be of record without, large databases, but I'm talking about names that managed to survive throughout history. the reason why I say this is that name any major army like Alexander the Great or Hannibal, you know, Hannibal, Carthage, and tell me who was every. Can you name the lowest officer and their what was his name? You know, the foot soldier and one of his armies. Like those names aren't recorded all the way. So that's what I'm just saying. Like names who made it out in history, and that's not to diminish that person's existence, but it's the fact that that name didn't make it throughout time. If you weren't a general or major player, your name didn't get passed on. So now we have access to names, but you can research who the president's related to, who his ancestors are. And I mean, again, there's generational opportunities passed down. These people of power are going to pass down generational opportunities, generational knowledge, uh, generational curses. They're going to pass down everything, both good and bad, but it's going to give them so much leverage and advancement potential over the common person who has no access to this information, this education. They're not getting it. So again, I'm going to say that where does it start at? It starts at trying to obtain the information itself, learning it and getting it in a capacity where you can teach in home and practice it. My wife and I are going to start, building up credit and teaching our children to understand and utilize credit. I've already exposed them to land and understanding land videos. They always love when a new land video comes up. I mean, honestly, I think my kids and my mom are probably my best supporters. And they they love a new land video that comes out. They love watching everything about land. They're excited about land. And in that excitement, I'm giving them the foundation to say, hey, we own all of this. This is the power that land gives. So their minds are now open to possibilities. It's this. It's not this. See this? See this? How I'm doing this? See how closed this is? The space you got to get in between. It's here. And it goes out of your field of vision. So that's how wide now their mind thinks when it comes to land and opportunities. They will grow older and see land somewhere and look at that and say, I have an interest in that. I know how valuable that is because of something that I went through seeing my father do land videos. I know he's made money in land. That opportunity is open, but what if they don't have that? That's why we do educate yourself videos. That's why I'm here, not just selling land, but giving you information to understand again what we're missing here, what you need to educate yourself on. Those videos that I do that people scroll past because they're looking for something catchy, something on the shorts, anything else like that. You're missing the thing that you need in life. And maybe it's by design. Maybe that's what it's for. Maybe it's to catch you slipping. And maybe it's to see if your will or mind is strong enough to really desire what you want better for your kids and for yourself. I think that's a testament. What you spend your time and dedicate yourself to will eventually give you the outcome from that. So if you spend your time doing drugs, you're going to get the outcomes of what happens with a person who does drugs in life. If you spend your time in the gym, you will get the outcomes, both good and bad. People get injured in the gym. They lift too much weight. They pull a muscle, but you will still look like a person who goes to the gym. You will get the outcomes from that. If you run, you'll be able to run faster or be a better runner than most people who don't run, right? If you sit your booty on the couch and you eat ho-hos and ding-dongs all day, you will yield the results of a person who has a sedentary lifestyle, everything that comes with it, right? You have a great appetite, you'll be able to eat more than other people, but at the same time, you also will have the health risk and benefits or detriments, actually, that go along with a person who eats in that capacity. And that's not to say anything bad or to shame people in that, but what I'm saying is that when you're putting your energy and efforts towards something where your attention goes, the results will follow. The outcomes will come with them. You can't be a person that doesn't do any reading and then be a proficient reader and have an increased vocabulary. That may work for the some or the few may be the exception, but that's not the most, right? And you got to think, where are you the most? I'm not a few person. I end up being a few because my attention and efforts go towards areas that lead me to being the few, not the most, and the things that I do that are qualified to be successful. So I'm saying to you again, this channel is set up to give you education, to talk about topics that not just a parent, you're any walk of life that you are, this stuff's going to be applicable. It's going to apply to you. So what is it? Building up your credit, understanding your credit. Because again, if you're in a relationship with someone, you can teach them about this. I've talked to my wife about this. We've had conversations about understanding these things. And I remember my wife, we're talking about early in our relationship, we've been together 10 years now. And my wife was saying that, when she made a comment about something, we were talking about adoption, and she was saying that she did not understand some of the psychological components that people who are adopted go through, because at the time she was just young and she just was looking at it from the concept of adopting to help save a child to have a home and a family like the one we have of love, and we try to put our energy into the kids, but she didn't understand the emotional things that went along with that. And she has people in her family that have been adopted, and even as adults, 50 or 60 year olds, they're still going through some of the trauma that's there. And you have to be a person that can really care for that person. And that consideration alone was something that she was like, wow, I never even thought about the concept. I was looking at the do good feel part of it, but I didn't even know, even adopting a baby, once they find out they're going to be that they're adopted, they do want to reconnect with the parent in some cases. And if that doesn't go well, there's this emotional thing that comes out of it that you got to understand. Like people who are, they're not treated well or cared for or loved by their parents, they have lifelong trauma that goes with them. You got to be a person that can deal with that stuff. So when I say that, it was just that the understanding of where we are now as opposed to where we were 10 years ago. And I also, of course, me, I got to throw in a little, I always got to bring my shovel to a party, right? And I told her, I said, well, think about the things that you don't understand today that are 10 years from now, you'll understand later. And, we've had hills and valleys in our relationship. And one of the things I think we kind of really understand is how important a two-parent household is. That's not where she comes from. And but again, the things you learn along the way, that education has to be taught. But I'm constantly talking to her about the how great our kids are doing, and that's because we're both home, we're both able to be in their lives, we're both able to have an effect on them, and we're both primarily concerned about their education, and we're both committed to that goal. When you have that commitment to that, you're going to yield outcomes that go along with that, because now when you're dedicated to the children have the best quality of life and the best outcomes in life, you find that it's hard to break away from the person, even if some days you don't like them. And again, I go back to the person you work with at your business or at your job. You may not like them, but still, your roles are a necessity for that business being productive. And the household still runs like a business. If you think of it that way, it's got to run like a business. That doesn't mean there's no love, anything like that. But again, you got to think about those things. And I think, if you're trying to, you feel like we're closing out here, we are. But at the same time, I just really want you to just sit back and think about the relationship that you've had. And maybe you weren't at the right financial standpoint because you were in debt. You were behind on bills, and you had conflict with that person, and that relationship was lost. But again, did you have an understanding what it was like to manage a household when you get to have a household? Did anyone prepare you for paying bills and the frequencies at which they come, how to manage and save money before you got your own place? Where is that education coming from? And you say to parents, but again, Monday through Friday, 7.5, 8 hours, your kids are not even in your care. They're at school. Then you get it for the summertime. It's just, here you go. And you still got to work. So again, where does we as parents can only do so much. And I'm not putting this on the school, and I'm not putting it back on the parents. I'm just saying is that you got to understand there are things missing that you as a parent will have to supplement, that our relationships, good or bad, the problems that we have in our relationships pretty much can be broken down to either one, family trauma, but also, again, we're not prepared to go out and live life. We're not educated in how to live life and be successful. We're not taught that in the area where we're sitting down and engaging most with people who are eventually going to people that we are going to experience that with. Someone you go to school with now, or you went to school with now, is someone's wife or ex-wife or baby mama, whatever else, or husband or baby daddy or whatever else. Every person, they have served a purpose in there, but again, has some of their dysfunction been through the lack of preparedness for life? They're a good person, but they don't have a good job. They're a good person, but they get fired because they don't have the skills. But again, at some point, when are we taught these basic things to be successful? And I just want to leave you pondering and thinking about that, because it's very important to me to understand and educate people on things that we have the capacity to change and help. But somebody's got to shine a light on it first. Someone's got to talk to us about it and bring it to our consciousness. And that's what I'm trying to do. And again, like I say, the thing you're missing about this channel, about owning land, there are people out there taking advantage of this opportunity day in and day out. There are people who are buying the properties, never seen them. There are people who are taking advantage of no interest and no credit checks. There are people who are buying land and holding on to it for generational wealth, leaving it to their children's. And again, they're opening their minds to making sure that a generation is not lost being a consumer. There's no education there because they can go on and explain land ownership to their children. Just like credit, they're going to start learning more and more. You learn more about land as you own land. The foundation is there. And it's not just land. When you own land, you start thinking of other things, what to do with land. My posting manager, marketing executive manager, Eric, and we have so many conversations about manufactured homes, what we can do on building. I have so many conversations with people who are interested in land. They bring new information to me because they're interested in purchasing land from me. They'll tell me about Airbnbs, things that I never would have this interaction if I wasn't a landowner. I wouldn't know about doing rentals or, mixed use or commercial properties or doing duplexes. And I wouldn't be seeking out this information to learn where I've gotten to now. Land led me here to amortization schedules. Your parents talking to you on the phone. You're like, hey, mom, I'm doing this. But you're going through your day. You're talking to people. You're going through your day. You're not focusing and locked in. Or as my cousin Wendell would say, tapped in. You're not tapped in that way. You're not zoned into what they're saying. So you're listening, but you're not really listening. You're not listening and taking notes. You're listening and hearing, right? So what I'm saying is that when I got to land, it got me tapped in. It got me listening and taking notes. It got me to start now being at the point where I can even talk to you and share this information with you. That's what it did for me. Now you're here watching this video right now. You're listening to what I'm saying. If you made it this far, I'm going to say you're probably going to be, I'm sure you would comment below or like the video, or even just go off and go do your own research. But again, think about that. I was taught, don't get a lot of credit cards. Don't be spending up the limit. That is true. But again, if you have 10 credit cards, you have 10 open accounts, that actually increases your credit, your scores, because they're long-standing accounts in good standing. You got high credit limits. When you go to get a mortgage, this is some of the stuff they need to see. When my father and I were talking, he's like, one of the things affecting your credit is that you don't have a whole lot of credit as far as like credit usage. You're like your credit limit amount. And I said, yeah, that kind of hurts me a little bit. But again, that wasn't something I was taught to build. The foundation was there, but it wasn't exactly the solid one that a mountain can rest on. It was good enough for a house, but it wasn't for the weight of a mountain. In life, you need the foundation, the land foundation that can hold up a mountain in order to be successful. My dad might look at this and it's like, Dad, but again, my father taught me so much, and he mentioned things that even I ignored. There'll be many things that he'd probably be like, I told you about this, you never did anything with it. And that's true. But again, I wasn't even in the mindset to understand where I'm at now. But again, that's because I'm 20 years into my education. I'm now at I'm graduating college in life, and now connecting the dots and understanding, oh, wow, I understand now my life education. I'm starting to become successful. This is exactly why the majority of your millionaires are over 40. If you look at statistics, the statisticals show that the more millionaires start to be in the 40s, 50s, and even 60s and 70s, the percentages become way higher. But again, that success more than likely correlates with the fact that their education in life, their successes have exponentially increased as they've gotten older and been able to get it out of the mud, go through the hard nights, the experience. But again, the education is learned through that experience. But again, we have this front end education in life, these years wasted where we don't learn anything. We're not being prepped to be educated on life. And that's the thing we need most, folks. If you like this video, folks, like, share, subscribe. Again, Phil Davis, I'm back. I'm doing more videos, folks. I'm going to have more videos with my picture up there. Ancestry Lands. Listen, we are almost at 30,000 subscribers. Thank you, everyone, for who's subscribing. Keep this momentum going, folks. We need this. I'm going to be bringing you more information that can help you build your wealth. It's not just land is the base of it, and you need to buy land. And I always tell people, you buy one property, you should be buying more than just one. You have an opportunity to buy land at no interest, no credit checks from a person. California is one of the top 5 largest economies in the world. You don't have to like California. I moved away from California, but owning land in an area that has an economy that is as big as other countries, you're missing something there. Again, 20 years from now, then you'll be looking at, man, I should have owned land there. Think about people who didn't do that down in Disneyland in Florida. I'm not saying that, but again, you got to remember though, 4th largest economy, believe it's the 4th largest economy in the world. As the state itself has the largest economy as some countries, some foreign countries. And people argue, I don't like California. You ain't got to like California. You have my brother has a timeshare. You ain't got to go to it every day. Go to it one time a year. Okay, great. But again, you own land, you own property, you're building value. Again, get out of the consumer mindset. I don't want to live. I don't like it. Okay, who cares if you don't like it? Again, people don't like a job, but they still get it. But again, that's a consumer mindset, retail mindset. Think like an owner. Think about something that you can pass down that's going to keep building its value because it's located in the 4th largest economy in the world. And that's not where you're going to buy it. And I'm saying we got you covered, man. Ancestry Lands, Phil Davis. Like, share, subscribe, folks. Thank you for watching. I appreciate your support. Thank you for the subscribers. We're on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. Philip Davis on LinkedIn. Find me. We're on IG too as well. We're on TikTok. All right. We're everywhere. Okay. And we're going to keep building this and bringing more value. We got bigger things to come. Eric and I are putting some things together. Beautiful things to come. All right. I hope everyone's staying safe in this holiday season, and listen to this video and rewatch this video and get more gems from it, because you missed some stuff in here. All right, folks. Phil Davis, Ancestry Lands. Like, share, subscribe. Go buy some land. Either gonna own property or be owned as property. Take care, folks.